Alright, hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of PokeOne. And today I actually want to keep PokeOne aside and focus on my team builder just to show you guys the progress we've made so far and what is possibly some Pokemon that we can keep on our team. So first of all, I need to go to the Pokebox and show you guys what I have. And of course, there are a lot of Pokemon that I can catch. Pokemon that I could use, such as Lapras, which I can definitely catch again. Get a better, more improved version of Lapras, because this is actually like a pretty high IV Lapras, by the way. Like I could definitely get a better Lapras if I want to use the Water Ice typing, which is a great typing because we get Stab Ice moves. But considering Lapras just has so many other weaknesses, such as fighting, which is a pretty common type to say the least, and rock types as well moving around. It makes the Pokemon a lot more vulnerable to a lot of types of attacks, and therefore ice typing is just not that strong, which is why I need a specific water Pokemon that can do a good amount of special damage. Because Ice Beam is probably the best ice move in the game. There is of course Ice Punch, but it just doesn't work the same. Also, Pokemon like Gyarados and stuff are also reasonable options, but the double weakness to electric types can be pretty scary. And also, I have a lot of physical attackers because my team is planned to be a Sandstorm team, and that makes me having more physical attacking Pokemon a bad idea because Intimidate is very common in doubles meta, especially, and that's what I'm trying to build the team towards. And Intimidate will completely weaken my physical attackers, so having some special attackers might be pretty good. Um, so yeah, let me just go through my main Pokemon that I would consider really able to sort of deliver. And so yeah, we do have what do you call these? Some of these semi usable Pokemon. Like this Togepi's stats are not very good because it's a low speed Togepi and it's a hustle. You want to get Serene Grace. You don't really want to get hustle, so Togepi is out of the question for Togekiss. Virizion is not a very good option, and it's a low speed Virizion. Terrakion is the only thing that is actually okay. It's not a bad Pokemon by any means. It's got really good speed for a rock and fighting type. And just to give you a perspective, this is Thunderous's speed. Thunderous speed is at 139, and Terrakion is almost there. So yeah, it's a pretty powerful Pokemon, and it's really good on the Sandstorm team. And with the Rock typing in Sandstorm, it gets a massive special defense boost. So yeah, it can be useful in certain situations, but for the fact that I'll be using Tyranitar, and Tyranitar is just such bad typing in terms of its defensive typing. It really relies on the Sandstorm to get the special defense up. It relies on something like Weakness Policy. It relies on something like Assault Vest because it can get one-shotted by, like, you don't even need a powerful fighting move. Even Brick Break can do so much damage to a Tyranitar that it's just more suitable as a defensive pivot sort of, and to get Sandstorm up to sort of threaten specific types of Pokemon. So it's a very situational Pokemon. So I don't want to bring Terrakion into that and really mess up my options, because if we face a very bulky water type, we will start to struggle. So Terrakion is still a good viable option. It's just that because of Tyranitar, it can't find a spot on the team. Kerballian, on the other hand, the one that I have in particular, is also a reasonable option. Steel fighting is good typing. And we dropped the defense on it, which is not a big deal because Kerballian has really high defense already. But Kerballian also has significant weaknesses, and it doesn't benefit from Sandstorm. So it's just another really good steel Pokemon that might be a good option for the team. And it can definitely take on water types. It's just that I don't think Kerballian has any ability to learn any ice attacks. Yeah, its coverage is really bad. It can learn Volt Switch. It can learn Rock. Um, yeah, it's mostly just fighting and steel. There's really nothing else that Kerballion can learn. Like when it comes out, you know pretty much what it's gonna do. The only other coverage moves it has is Rock, maybe some poison moves such as Toxic. Um, yeah, and it can learn Zen Headbutt though, which can catch people by surprise. But yeah, it's like a bit too straightforward, and I don't really want to add another straight up fire weakness to the team, considering Ferrothorn is another Pokemon that I might be leaning towards. So let's go to the next box and let me show you what else options I have. So here we have the Almighty Landorus. And this one is a Bashful Nature Landorus. I also have a Landorus that is Lonely Nature. The Lonely Nature one is actually what I might lean towards to use as in its Therian form. And this one might be good for its Incarnate form. And the reason for this is because this one is an up attack. This one doesn't up anything. So this one can still be used with Earth Power, which is a good move as a special move coverage. Whereas this one is just straight up attack, so Earthquake is just way better for this Landers. And since the Incarnate form is banned in PvP, like if I were to go to PvP here, under Pokemon um, 1 versus 1, wait, hang on, this is rules 1 versus 1. Let me go to 2 underused. No, this is underused. We don't have the 2v2. We don't have the 2v2 option here. But anyway, let me just show you in 1 versus 1. Moves banned, Pokemon banned, AG/ Toxapex, Landorus Incarnate. So there it is. So as a result, we can't use the Incarnate form in PvP at all. At least, yeah, at least until there's further notice. So I have two options of Landorus, one that I caught, one that I bought. Both are reasonable options. Metagross is probably the only other Steel type Pokemon that's really powerful to have on the team. But because of its weakness to Earthquake and fighting moves, it kind of opens a gap in the team, considering the 4 times fighting weakness I already have on Tyranitar. We of course have other options like Blissey, but once again, Blissey weakness to fighting does expose my team a little bit. Some teams do have these weaknesses in general. Dragonite is not a good option because of its of the double ice weakness I already have on Garchomp. Garchomp and Tyranitar might be some of the key Pokemon that I'll be using on this team. So let me put Tyranitar here. Let me put Garchomp here. And even Ferrothorn, because Ferrothorn is just an excellent support Pokemon. There's no reason for me not to use it. And then Skarmory might be a really good wall option for me to use. It might be, but I'm still considering it. Like, I mean, it might be the other good steel Pokemon to have on the team, beside Ferrothorn, as a sort of a support. It does have some offensive capabilities in Steel Wing. Iron Head is probably better because of the flinch, but Steel Wing is also good because if I do get a defense boost, I'll have a massive amount of defense on Skarmory. And its weaknesses are completely special attacks, like it's electric and fire. So if I do come across those, there's really nothing I can do with Skarmory. So that's another thing. Aegislash is a Pokemon that's just straight up banned because it's just so powerful. And I have a great sassy Aegislash. This is something I can use for PvE, but not in PvP, unfortunately. Blastoise is a Pokemon I trained really well. It's a really good water Pokemon, but it's just certain things that it doesn't do really well. In terms of its typing, it's just water. Like, I need more. I need at least a fairy typing on the team, because fairy typing does help me cover against dragon types. It helped me cover against fighting types. Two things that I really want to reduce, because fighting type weaknesses are there quite obviously on the team. Thundurus is a great Pokemon to replace my Zapdos. Zapdos that I have is pretty good. Its moves and coverage are pretty good. I can get Heat Wave on this, but the fact that Thundurus can learn Hammer Arm gives it, I feel, slightly better coverage. Um, yeah, just slightly better coverage. Heat Wave is great, and it hits Pokemon in doubles really well. But Hammer Arm is also a good option. But the fact that Thundurus can learn Taunt, that's where the value really comes in. And the fact that it's way faster than Zapdos by all means. It can use Taunt really fast. Now it's like level 53, so you can't see the speed. But overall, its speed difference is just much higher than Zapdos. So it'll always move first, making it a really good Taunt user. So yeah, there's Thundurus. Whimsicott is another great Pokemon. It can do everything really well. The only weakness that Whimsicott has that I don't want to have any more of on the team is Ice. Whimsicott has Ice weakness, and Thundurus already has Ice weakness, and so does Garchomp 4 times Ice weakness, which makes Whimsicott a slightly worse option unless I use it to replace Thundurus and find another option for some kind of electric type that can contribute to the game. Because Whimsicott is not going to be able to handle any water Pokemon. It'll just die to an Ice Beam, and it's not going to do enough damage. Like its special attack is not even comparable. It's just not able to be an offensive Pokemon. Keldeo is another really good water Pokemon option. I also have a decently defensive Keldeo, and it's got really good speed. The weaknesses that Keldeo faces is mainly the fact that it's a what do you call this? Pokemon that has weaknesses to Fairy typing and Psychic typing, two things that can be quite scary. And if I go to Keldeo, the only Ice move I think I'll learn is Icy Wind or something. Hail, Icy Wind. There we go. It can't learn Ice Beam. And the fact that it can't learn Ice Beam really drops its value because, as you can see, it's all these water and fighting moves, making it super predictable. But I do have a decent Keldeo, a bold Keldeo. It's pretty good. Allows me to switch it into defense, like what do you call this? Normal attacks, not special attacks, and tank to some extent. So that's another option that I have. So okay, anyway, I've shown you the gist of my basic Pokemon. Some other options I do have is Claydol. Claydol does have a whole bunch of weaknesses, but um, a calm Claydol with Levitate is actually a pretty good Pokemon for something like Trick Room, getting a Sandstorm back up, using something like God Split or Power Split or whatever. Um, it's got so many things that it can do. That it's such a good support Pokemon. It's something like Skarmory as well is a really good support Pokemon. And besides Ferrothorn, I do need one other support Pokemon on the team. So Claydol is an option, Skarmory is an option. These are all decent options. Mandibuzz is also another great option because it's a dark flying Pokemon. It has the ability to use what's that move? What do you call this? Let me look for it. It's the one that uses your opponent's attack. Nasty Plot. There we go. No, wait, not this one. Is it Nasty Plot? Wait. Nasty Plot increases special attack. Punishment. Punishment is good, but it is something else. Embargo, payback. Of course, it has taunt, which is super useful. Foul play, there we go. So foul play is a great move because it uses the opponent's attack to do damage, which means that Mandibuzz can do massive amounts of damage against physical attackers. And it makes it a great Pokemon to drop in and just scare the crap out of people. It's just one of those, a Pokemon that's totally able to do that. And it also has all the other support abilities. It has Whirlwind. It has ability to do Defog, Tailwind setup. Same as Skarmory, except that it has more dark moves, such as Taunt, which Skarmory cannot learn. But Skarmory is just a better wall than Mandibuzz in a lot of other ways. And both these Pokemons are good on Sandstorm teams. It's just that I need to get the Mandibuzz with Overcoat and not the one with Big Pecs. So Overcoat Mandibuzz is actually resistant to Sandstorm and I think all weather effects, if I'm not mistaken. There we go. Protects the Pokemon from things like Sand, Hail, and Powder. Oh, actually, yeah. Okay, yeah. So it just protected from all sorts of weather effects and also powder moves, which makes Mandibuzz a pretty decent wall in its own accord. It also has better, what do you call this, special defense compared to Skarmory. But of course, in terms of defense, Skarmory is just way better. It also has really good HP. Like overall, it has better stats than Skarmory. It's just the Skarmory's typing is, better. I also have some options for EVs, but not really that good at the moment. Alright, so considering the options that I have, let me switch to my Maryland team builder and show you guys what the team will look like. So we do have Tyranitar. Let me just zoom in a little bit. Yeah, Tyranitar and Garchomp. So obviously we're going to have Rock Slide. I think this should be Pursuit, but I can't select it for some reason, so I'm going to go with Crunch. And then Earthquake is something that I really can change. Tyranitar doesn't need Earthquake, just because the only things that Earthquake would help it cover is probably Steel types, and Electric types. Yeah, Steel and Electric types, and not many people actually use grounded Electric Pokemon. Like Zapdos is the most common, Thundurus is common. They know the threat of Earthquake in the metagame, so they don't really bring grounded electric Pokemon. So Steel types is probably the best thing that Earthquake can cover against. However, considering the rest of my team does not have another Earthquake, like assuming Garchomp goes down and the opponent just brings out, some kind of Magnus Zone or something like that, I don't really have a way to bring it down without Earthquake. So just keeping the second Earthquake on the team seems like a good option. Garchomp's moves are going to be Earthquake, Dual Chop, Fire Fang, and then probably some support move like Sword Stance or um, maybe even a Protect or Stone Edge. Like I can replace Rock Slide with Dual Chop or Stone Edge or something like that. But I think these moves are pretty good because I do need to fight Dragon Pokemon, so Stone Edge is not as good as Dual Chop. And Dual Chop can take down sturdy Pokemon. So it's a pretty interesting move that I don't really want to throw right now. But I'm gonna keep all these fort slots empty because you do need moves like Protect, maybe Stealth Rocks, and those sorts of coverage. So I'm gonna leave it. Ferrothorn right now, as per game, it has the abilities. What do you call this? Gyro Ball and Power Whip. It also has Stealth Rock. It actually has Leech Seed as a fourth move. But assuming I don't want to have Leech Seed, I could still go for Protect. I could even replace Power Whip with Protect, just because Grass moves, they don't offer as much coverage, and I think the threat um, of Fairy Pokemon is something that I'm more concerned about, just because Fairy Pokemon can deal with both Tyranitar and Garchomp, so Gyro Ball is actually just better to have. Yeah, I guess. Toxic is also another good coverage move. I can keep Toxic on Ferrothorn because I don't have it yet so far on the team. So for Thundurus, Discharge, Hammer Arm, and currently I have Fly. I can switch this out for something else, but I think Taunt would be the last move. I think this one is pretty obvious. The value of Taunt is something that I really need to use, especially against opposing Ferrothorns, opposing Toxapexes. Toxapex is currently banned, but there could be other stuff as well. Claydolls, what's its name? The bug steel Pokemon that can spin. Uh, Fortress, right? Fortress is another threat that I gotta be careful of. So Taunt is just gonna help me in many ways. So yeah, there's that. I could replace Fly with something else, and I have to think, what is it that Thundurus has in terms of its coverage? Hang on, let me just look for Thundurus in my Pokedex in the game, and then I'll let you guys know. It has Nasty Plot, which is a pretty good move to boost its special attack. It also has things like, let's see, Heal Block, huh? That's a really interesting ability. It has Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse is also a pretty interesting move. It could help me counter specific Pokemon, especially considering Psychic Pokemon are not uncommon. They are there. And I don't really have many Pokemon that can handle Psychic types. Like, I can resist them with Steel types. But Dark Pulse might be really good coverage against, yeah, against Psychic types. I think it's a pretty good option. Um, Also, I can learn Grass Knot, which is a pretty interesting grass type coverage move. But I don't really need it because I think Hammer Arm and Discharge covers against a lot of the Pokemon that Grass would handle. Yeah. Incinerate is another move that it can actually learn via TM. And Incinerate is a really good coverage move because if the opponent is holding a berry, then the what do you call this, berry gets burnt. So Incinerate is actually a pretty interesting coverage move for Thundurus. It gives it the same type of coverage as Zapdos' Heat Wave, but it also gives the added advantage that if the opponent is using a berry, it gets burnt. So that's a decent coverage option. And Psychic is also another good coverage option. So Thundurus has pretty decent coverage. I think it's not really something I need to worry about. U-turn is also an option. Toxic is also an option. Thundurus can do so many things that Fly is not really something that I need to be concerned about. I think Psychic might be really good because a lot of bulky grass types actually have the secondary poison typing. And I'm also afraid of specific fighting typing. So instead of using Fly, I think Psychic can actually, handle both. But of course, Fly will handle both the fighting and grass also pretty well. It's just that Fly takes 2 turns, and I don't really have a flying move that works in 1 turn. Defog is also a thing that I need to have since I don't have a rapid spinner on the team. So I need to think of a way to remove spikes and stealth rock. That's something I really need to work on. Something I don't really have on the team yet. Right, so yeah, these are the core Pokemon that I have worked on now. Now I need some sort of a water Pokemon, and that's gonna be either a Azumarill or my existing Blastoise. The advantage, oh, not Gastrodon, I said a Azumarill. That's interesting. I wish I had Gastrodon though. The game hasn't released Gastrodon yet. But if it does, then I'll definitely take Gastrodon into the team because it's an amazing Pokemon. It fulfills the role of the special attacker that I need. Azumarill can't do Scald Ice Beam. It does an Aqua Jet. It does Ice Punch. It does. Of course, it relies on Belly Drum to get its power up. It does. What is this thing? Um, Hang on, let me check it. It's the Fairy move. Um, it does. Oops. Go back into the game. The game just went on idle mode. Play rough, right? Okay, so it does play rough. So this is a good coverage Pokemon. But I would have used Togekiss if I could. But it looks like Togekiss is not going to be available for us because it just didn't get the right Togepi. I can find one, but I do believe I need some sort of a fairy Pokemon on the team. And Volcarona is another great option. Okay, Volcarona is really, really good. Of course, I'm gonna have the Quiver Dance for it to be a really good sweeper. It's also gonna learn. Hang on, let me check Volcarona. Let me just make sure I get the moves right. Okay, there's gonna be Fiery Dance. I think Fiery Dance is. Oh, it's not in the. It's not in this. What do you call this? This wiki. So I guess we put Flamethrower just to detect the coverage. And it's probably going to have something like Bug Buzz. Bug Buzz is a really strong move, but I wouldn't throw away Bug Bite. I think as it is, Bug Bite is a pretty good move because it gets rid of the berries that the opponent holds, and it's pretty scary. And Volcarona has a good options of coverage. It can learn Psychic. It can even learn Giga Drain. And I think Psychic is a better option compared to Giga Drain. Because if the opponent is a water Pokemon, I wouldn't want to be out on the field against it anyway. And Giga Drain is probably the only thing that gives Volcarona some survivability. So that is a good option. It might actually even help it against rock Pokemon. So you know what? I think Giga Drain is probably a better move than Psychic. All right, so now that I mentioned these, and I kept some fort slots empty, we can remove this taunt. We can remove belly drum. Let's move play rough here. So I like to keep these fort slots empty just to know that they're going to be some kind of a boost move. Quiver down south. All right, so let's go down here and let's look at the defensive coverage. So as we can see in the team, the defensive coverages that I am really concerned about is all these things that have more than one occurrence of weakness. So fire is not really a concern for me. I can handle fire Pokemon for days. Water Pokemon, I can defensively handle them to some extent because of Azumarill. Ferrothorn is not the best option against it. Uh, like yeah, sure. If it has the grass move, but what if I remove Power Whip? Then there's nothing I can do against the water Pokemon. So that is something to be concerned about. Thundurus is the only thing that can fight them. The rest of these, not really. But we'll go to the offensive coverage in a bit. So other than that, defensively, electric is not a big concern. Grass is definitely not much of a concern defensively, but offensively, maybe yes. Ice is something that I can handle because of Azumarill and Volcarona, but if not for those two Pokemon, Ice might be a little bit of a concern. But they mostly come from water Pokemon anyway. Fighting is a little bit of a concern, but with Azumarill and Volcarona, thanks to their fairy typing and the bug typing, fighting moves are something that I can handle. Poison is not a concern. Ground is not a big concern. Poison, the only big thing is that other than Ferrothorn, the rest of these Pokemon can get poisoned. So if I get a toxic on any one of these Pokemon, it's a ticking time bomb. It's just a matter of time before they die. So when it comes to those situations, if I had another steel Pokemon like Skarmory, it might be good. I can switch it in safely into a toxic that's coming. But other than that, maybe if I have a healer with a heal bell, I could solve that whole toxic concern. So, which is why I think that Ferrothorn alone is not going to be able to manage as a support. I do need another support, like maybe my Blissey. So yeah, that's something to look forward to. Flying is not a big concern. Psychic is not really much of a concern, but I do need to have better coverage against psychic types. Like if Volcarona is there, I'm not concerned because the bug abilities that it has can fight the psychic type. But Tyranitar, despite being immune to psychic um, type attacks, a lot of psychic Pokemon actually carry fighting move coverage. So Tyranitar is going to get one shot at if it meets any psychic Pokemon basically. So yeah, I gotta be really careful for that. Bug is not a concern. Bug was never a concern for anything anyway. Rock type, Stealth Rock is a concern because of Thundurus and Volcarona especially. That's why I need a Rapid Spinner or Defogger. Otherwise, I can't handle Stealth Rock. There's really nothing I have against it here. So yeah. Ghost types are not really a big deal. Dragon types are not a concern if I have a fairy type on the team. If I don't have a fairy type on the team, they start to become a slight concern. So dark is not a problem, steel is not a problem, and fairy is a little bit of a concern. Just because there's such great typing in general. So yeah. Um, Total weaknesses maximum is 2, so I don't really have a big worry in terms of my defensive typing here. Now for the offensive coverage. Normal is not a problem. Fire is not a problem at all. Water Pokemon is a problem. Ferrothorn, I can't rely on it for the grass attack. Once again, I might let go of it. And Volcarona is not a very good option to take on or water Pokemon. It's good once it's like it has built up its quiver dance, right? If it has like 2-3 quiver dances in, I'm not too worried because I can Giga Drain the crap out of water Pokemon and they'll just die. But if they are, coming out with a really bulky water Pokemon, then I gotta be really careful because one Hydro Pump and Volcarona is dead, and the same Hydro Pump can still take out Thundurus because it's not very tanky. So I do need some way of handling water Pokemon, uh, the bulky ones especially. So yeah, that's a bit of a concern. Electric types are not a big deal, but they do deal well with Thundurus and Azumarill, so I just gotta make sure I park Garchomp or Tyranitar out to keep them away. But they're bound to be there. It's just a matter of time. Grass Pokemon. So right now, as you can see, Garchomp is covering them with the Fire Fang. Not the best move in the game. Azumarill can only cover them if it has Ice Punch, and Volcarona handles them pretty well. So if I have another way to go about this, I would. But right now, I don't really have another way. So yeah. Plus, if they come out with some kind of Intimidate, Azumarill is going to get softened up a bit, so it can't really handle Grass Pokemon very well. So Grass Pokemon and Water Pokemon, which are super common, weaken my team a little bit. I think that's just the weakness of Sandstorm as is. I can handle Ice Pokemon for days. I probably will never see them. Fighting Pokemon, thanks to the Psychic and Fairy coverage, I can handle them. But if I don't have those, I think they'll be a little bit tricky. I can, of course, decide between Thundurus and Volcarona on who takes the Psychic move. and who takes the grass move, because they both can learn either. So that's really good in terms of coverage. Yeah, that's something that I need to think about. Anyway, as for the poison typing, once again, I think if they catch me off guard and try to wear me down with a whole bunch of toxic, there's not really much I can do against it. Which is why I may need to think about how I will handle that. Give me a sec. Let me just read this. All right. So, um, yeah, I do need to be a little bit cautious about poison Pokemon. Ground is not a big concern for me. I think I can handle ground Pokemon pretty well. Um, yeah, I think it's not really a big deal. Volcarona is not. It's not going to be harmed by ground because it has bug typing, which protects it really well. It's very interesting because bug type is one of the worst types in the game, but because of its unique defensive traits to specific types, it actually makes Volcarona pretty scary. Um, if there's no opposing rock slide, but I think rock slide is going to be there. It's super common, and even if it's not there, stealth rock is guaranteed. It's going to take half of Volcarona's life upon a switch in, and yeah, it's going to be pretty scary. Psychic Pokemon, once again, Tyranitar is not the best to handle them. Volcarona can handle them to some extent because of its bug typing ability. But I think I have to find another way to manage against them if they do show up. Bug is not a problem. Rock is not a problem. Ghost is not a problem. Dragon can be handled thanks to a Azumarill. But if it gets intimidated, um, I do have to start to worry a little bit, especially if the Dragon Pokemon carry some Lightning move or some Steel attack. Yeah, it can be pretty scary. Because it's the same way I build my Garchomp to handle opposing Azumarils. I'm pretty sure people will also do the same. And if they have something like a Dragon Knight, with Thunderbolt specially built, it's pretty scary. Dark type is not a big concern. I think I'm more concerned about what Dark Pokemon can do rather than the typing itself. Like in terms of its taunt abilities, their nasty plots, their sucker punches. I think these things are the bigger concern, honestly. Steel Pokemon are not a problem for me at all. And Fairy type is a bit of a concern because I don't really have Pokemon that can offensively damage them. Like if I have another steel type attacker on the team, I think I can do better. So the weakness of this team generally is the fact that not all of my Pokemon are suitable for Sandstorm. Like 3 of these Pokemon are not. So if I have some options to replace these 3 in some way, I think I can strengthen this team loads. Although as is, I think it's really good. It's just that I gotta face the facts that I am gonna be weak against some of these typing. So I just have to like play my way around them and get into the right positions. And there's always gonna be some way to counter the team that I gotta accept. And yeah. Anyway, that's it for this episode. It's just me discussing the possibilities of my team. Let me switch back to PokeOne for you guys to show you what else I have going on. All right, there we go. All right, so in terms of what else we have going on, I think it's a matter of finding the right Pokemon to fulfill these roles. So Skarmory is something that I have to think whether it's a good Pokemon to fit into the team because it gives so many options. It also handles fairy Pokemon pretty well, so there is that. So anyway, we are in Goldenrod City. I will be concluding this episode here because this is specifically talk about the teaming and the setup and whatever. And I'll be back in the next one to continue our adventure in Goldenrod City. Thanks so much for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Take care.